This is going to be a step-by-step of how I would earn a scholarship in 2024. And so to this point, I've earned 2 D1 scholarships. I've been through the transfer portal. I've helped a lot of athletes navigate through the process, earn scholarships, 8 different sports. We've had 90 plus coaches contact our athletes just in the last couple of weeks. And so I'm going to show you, this is going to be a little bit of a different video. We're going to use this roadmap that you see right here in green. That's sort of going to be our outline, but then I'm going to build for you live exactly how I would do each of these things and how I would earn a scholarship if I was in the recruiting process right now. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we have to start with is, what am I trying to accomplish? Because if you aren't heading in any direction and you're just sort of guessing, you're going to have a really hard time with this. And so the question is, what am I trying to accomplish? Okay. And so what we're looking for here is some sort of goal or direction. And so I might say I want to play D1. But there's probably more to this, right? It might be that, yeah, I want to play D1, but I also want to go to a strong academic school, right? Maybe I have good grades and I want to go to a strong academic school. And I say, you know what, even if it means I can't play D1, right? And so now going to a strong academic school takes precedence over playing D1, but these are some things that I would like to do, right? And so this is the direction that I'm heading in. And so then I would say, okay, great. So I know that I want to play D1, and I know that I want to go to a strong academic school, even if it means that I can't play D1. And so now I want to ask this question right here. If I wanted to fail, what would I do? Right? If I wanted to fail, what would I do? And then we're going to reverse engineer this. And so we're going to say, if I wanted to fail, what would I do in recruiting? Okay. And there's a couple different things I do. If I wanted to fail, the first thing that I would do is I would only have schools on my target list that I'm not capable of playing at. Right? I'd only have schools on my target list that I'm not capable of playing at. Some other things that I would do is I would only have a small number of schools on my target list, right? If I have a small number of schools, obviously that's going to decrease my odds for success. And so if I'm trying to fail, then that is definitely something that I would do. Some other things that I would do. I would rely on my stats, coach connections, and showcases and camps to generate interest for me, right? If I wanted to fail, then I would just rely on stats, which coaches don't really trust as much. I would rely on my coach connections to generate interest for me. And of course, I would just go to as many showcases and camps as possible and not really have any strategy there, right? Some other things that I would do. I would send a low volume of emails, right? And Twitter posts, we'll say. Right? I just wouldn't do high volume. And then the other thing that I would do here is I would say also these will be low quality. I will not measure success and make improvements along the way, right? I'm just going to take what I get face value, and then I'm not going to increase or change anything as I go. I'd also say that I'm going to start the process as late as possible, right? The later that I start, the harder it's going to be. And so for me, I'm going to say, you know what? If I'm trying to fail, I'm going to start as late as I possibly can. I'm also not going to follow up with schools that show interest, right? Show interest. I'm going to we'll say wait for them to contact me every time. Right? So I'm not going to follow up with any schools that show me interest. I'm just going to let them contact me. And if they like me enough, then they will come find me. Right? Okay. Let's get a couple more, though, because I still think that there are some other things that I would do if I were trying to fail in the process. I'd have as few recruiting videos as I possibly could, and I'd make it hard for coaches to evaluate me. Right? I want to make it really hard for coaches to evaluate me because I am not trying to get interest. We would also say that I would come unprepared to phone calls and not ask questions on those calls. And then we'll put one more here at the end, which would say, I would wait for my dream school even if I have limited options and no leverage. Okay, so if I wanted to fail in college recruiting, these are the things that I would do, right? And so basically what we can say is if I want to succeed, then I should just do the opposite of these things, right? So instead of having schools on my target list that I'm not capable of playing at, then I want schools that I am capable of playing at and even that I'm overqualified for. I want a large number of schools on my list, not a small number, right? I don't want to rely on my stats or coach connections or showcases and camps. I want to be able to generate interest in other ways and then use those things selectively, right? I would want to send a high volume of emails and Twitter posts. I wouldn't want to have a small number. I'd want to be everywhere as much as possible, right? To create that inertia, create that momentum. Also, I'd want them to be high quality. Like, I actually want to measure how these things are working over a long period of time and make iterations and adjustments along the way. I'd also want to start as early as possible, right? If I'm trying to fail, I want to start as late as possible every day. From now until whenever your kid goes to play on at the next level, there will be less and less scholarships than there were the day before. So the earlier you start, you just have a time advantage. It's just the way that it works, right? We also say that I'm going to follow up with schools, right? So instead of not following up and waiting for coaches to contact me, I am going to continue the conversation with them so that they don't have to bear the full burden of communication. Recruiting videos, I would make as many as I possibly can. Right? I'd make as many videos as I possibly can and make it really easy for coaches to recruit me. I would come prepared to phone calls, right? And ask questions on those phone calls. And then lastly, I want to build as much leverage and as many options as possible so that if I'm in the position where I need to wait for my dream school, I can do that. Okay. So we've set out what we're trying to accomplish, right? We want to play D1. We want to go to a strong academic school, but I'd rather prioritize going to a strong academic school in this case over playing D1. And then we've talked about what would I, if I wanted to fail, what would I do? And we're just going to do the opposite of this. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about creating a target list. This is the next thing that I would do. So create a target list. So when I'm creating this target list, I would shoot for 100 schools, okay? Because I know that if I contact 100 schools, we're going to have about 80 of those will open an email, right? We're going to have about 60 of those will click on video, right? And actually, this is probably more like 50. 50 of them will click on the video, right? Of those 50, about 30 will need my position in grad class, right? 30 will need my position in grad class here. 10, we'll say like 8 to 10, will think I'm good enough, something like that. And then we'll get about, 5 to 10 responses, right? Something like that is what this is going to look like. And so I'm going to reach for 100 schools. Now, when it comes to these 100 schools, we're going to do a couple things here. The first thing is I'm going to say, look, my primary thing is that I want to play D1 and I want strong academic schools. And so I'm going to start off and say that 50 of these are going to be D1. Like, I'm going to throw 50, half of those schools are going to be D1. And that's going to be great. But then also, I said that, hey, you know what? I need to create a safety net, and I also want to go to a strong academic school, even if it means it's not D1. And so I might also say, hey, you know what? 30 of these schools are going to be D3, because I know that there's some good, small, strong academic D3 schools, and so I'll be interested in that. And then also, just as another safety net here, I might reach out to 20 NAIA schools just to diversify, right? And so I'm creating this list and I'm like, all right, so I'm going to put 50 D1 schools, 30 D3 schools, and 20 NAIA schools. And then once we come through this, we'll reevaluate, right? I'm going to reevaluate after we kind of target these schools for a certain amount of time, but this is going to give me a good foundation to sort of start from and build upon. All right, so we've created our list. The next thing that we need to do is video, right? So as I'm putting together my video, put together video strategy. What does that even mean, and what does that look like? All right. First thing I'm going to do is gather all the video that I have, and I'm going to look for clips. Sorry, actually, we're going to do something different. The first thing that we're going to do, put together video strategy, the first thing we're going to do is skill map, which means identify and write down all the skills that I need to showcase for my position, right? And so I'm going to write down every single skill that a college coach wants to see from players who play my position. So I'm going to write all of those down. And so there's probably going to be between 5 and 10 of these skills, right? And so then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to gather all my video and look for videos that showcase these skills, right? I'm going to look for videos that showcase these skills. And then I'm going to pull those out and identify which skills I don't have video for. So for instance, if I have video for 4 of these skills, then I'll proceed with that video. And if I don't have video for, let's say, 3 skills, then I will go get video for these skills. Game or practice. I spelled that wrong. Practice first until I can get game video, right? So I'm going to do this. And so now we have these 7 skills that I have decided that I need to showcase to college coaches. I already have video for 4 of them because I've gone through all of my video. And then there's 3 of those skills that I don't have video for yet. So for those skills, I'm going to go get practice video first because I can get it ASAP. I don't have to wait for a game. I don't have to wait for the game to actually create a scenario where I can get that skill. So I can get that video right away. I can fill that gap with practice video. And then in the meantime, I will also be actively trying to get game video of those skills as well. So I have both practice and game video moving on. Okay. So at this point, we know what skills we need to showcase. We have a plan to get that video. So once I have that video, I'm going to upload all of them to YouTube. Right? I want to upload all of them to YouTube because I want them all in a singular place that makes it really easy for college coaches to recruit me. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have both long and short videos on my channel, right? I'm going to have long and short videos. Short videos are great because you're going to be able to hook coaches in and they're going to watch, that 10-second video, 20-second video and be like, oh, this kid's really good. And then they're going to go watch more. And then I'm going to have longer videos on my channel where it might be a minute or 2 minutes where I can show the entirety of a play, not just the action. So the coach can see the buildup of it or they can see what happens after that play. And so I'm going to have both long and short videos on my channel. If I already have a highlight video, cool. I'm going to throw that up as well. And so basically what's going to end up happening here is I'm going to have a full and complete YouTube channel showcasing every skill that a coach needs to see and all formats that make it easy for them, right? That includes the long videos, the medium videos, the short videos, all of those types of things. And so now when a college coach comes to my YouTube channel, they're going to be able to see all of these different skills that they need to evaluate me on. And there's going to be video for every single one of them, right? And so all of a sudden, we have an actual video strategy here. When I point coaches to this later on, we're going to be in pretty darn good shape, right? Okay, so the other thing, let's roll with that for now. Then we need to actually generate interest, right? So we have this video. We know what we're trying to accomplish. We're going to do the opposite of these things because we don't want to fail. We have our target list of schools. We've created these 100 schools that we are interested in. And so we've put together our evidence that we are capable of playing at those schools. Awesome. Now we need to actually get on their radar. We need to reach out to them and have them see that we really are an amazing player. And so I'm going to contact these schools through email, right? I'm going to email these schools. There's a couple different things that I need to make sure that I do. The first thing is I want to land in the primary inbox. If I land in the spam folder, promotions folder, junk folder, then this email is not going to get opened and I am not going to get any interest. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. The second thing that I want to make sure is that I email the right coach, the one that is involved in recruiting, right? I'm going to pick the coach that is the most involved in recruiting, and I'm going to contact that coach. This is usually a recruiting coordinator. It's usually one of the assistants. If you want to email all the coaches on staff, which is a little bit overkill, but if you want to do that, you have to do it in individual emails. You cannot CC all of them. You cannot even like BCC them, right? It should be a personalized email to that coach. And so we also need to make sure, if you're not going to email all of those schools, that we're emailing the right coach, right? The one that is involved in recruiting. We also need to make sure we have the right email address for that coach, because if we have the right coach but the wrong email, it will never reach them, right? Then I'm going to have a short subject line that gets the coach to open the email, not get me a scholarship. And I spelled that wrong, your subject line is not going to earn you a scholarship, right? It is just to get the coach to open the email. That's it. So you don't need to have 300 characters in your subject line. A coach isn't going to be able to see that anyway. It's going to get cut off. And so you're only trying to have a subject line. This subject line also should be focused on need, meaning position and grad class. Does a coach need your position and grad class? So make sure you include your position and grad class in that subject line. Then when I'm writing my email, I want it to take less than 30 seconds for a coach to read my email. I'm going to literally time myself reading the email to make sure this is true, okay? Sure, this is true. So I'm going to write my email, read my email, and then I'm going to time myself and see if it takes less than 30 seconds. If it takes longer, then I know that my email is too long. I need to go back and I need to make it shorter, right? Okay, so we're going to do all of that. Then in my email as well, I'm going to remove all stats and add video, because I don't want them to make this decision to watch my video or not based on my stats, because stats are completely contextual. Now, if I played a time-based sport like track and field or like swimming, then I would include my stats because that's going to be important, right? But we're going to assume in this case that I'm not playing one of those sports. I'm playing a skill-based sport, which most of you probably will be. And so I'm going to remove all stats and I'm going to focus on just adding video. The other thing that I'm going to do here, which is critical, and if you remember, we just created this YouTube channel in this beautiful way. And so I'm just going to tag this YouTube channel in the video. So I'm just going to add link to YouTube channel video, right? All right, so we're going to add the link to the YouTube channel video. Then the other thing that we're going to do here when we are sending these emails to coaches is I'm going to send more than one email to coaches who do not respond, right? Who do not respond, because the idea here is that the majority of coaches will not respond to your first email, but you will get more responses if you send follow-up emails, right? And so when you ask how many, I'm going to send 2 additional emails, 3 in total, right? I'm going to send 3 emails total to these coaches, and this is going to give me the best chance for success. Now, it depends on whether you're using software to do this or whether you're manually doing this. If you're using software to do this, I'd put like 4 days in between these emails. Right? If you're not using software to do this, then it's probably just going to be something like, few weeks or a month because you're strapped on time because you're manually sending these emails, and that's very difficult. And so instead, we're going to hopefully use software. If you don't know how to do this, book a call with us. We will show you exactly how to do this and help you set this up, which will give you a huge advantage in college recruiting. So hopefully we have 4 days in between these emails. And so then this is going to put us in a really good spot to hopefully generate we're trying to generate a couple different things. We're trying to generate Twitter follows, okay? Because a lot of times coaches will see your email and they're not ready to respond to you, but they might want to be updated on what you got going on. So they're going to go over and they're going to follow you on Twitter. So we're trying to generate Twitter follows. We're trying to generate responses. Sure. We're trying to generate video watches. Yep. And we're trying to generate watch list, right? Which is basically where a coach doesn't respond, but they put you on a watch list and then they're going to come watch you at some sort of tournament or showcase or something like that. And so this is ultimately what we're going to try to do with email. And so we have these 100 schools that we have already listed out. And so we're going to do this. We're going to send them this email, hopefully land in the primary inbox. We're going to email the right coach and the right email address. We're going to have a short subject line that's based on need. We're going to make sure that email takes less than 30 seconds to read. I'm going to time myself to make sure that's true. I'm going to remove all stats and add video to it. Of course, that video is going to be the YouTube channel that we set up over here. I'm going to send more than one email to coaches who do not respond, right? And so that would be roughly 2 additional emails, 3 in total. Those emails, if I'm using software and I've worked with D1 Scholarship because they're awesome, are going to have 4 days in between. If you're doing this manually, then it probably needs to be like a few weeks or a month. It doesn't have to be, but it's just going to end up being a lot of emails and a lot of work, and I don't know that you have that amount of time. If you do, go for it. And then hopefully what we're trying to generate here is Twitter responses, Twitter follows, responses, video watches, and of course, video watch list or just watch list in general where coaches are writing your name down to come watch you. Okay. So this is starting to come together, right? We have an idea of what we're going after. We know what not to do. We've created our list. We've put together all of our video. We have put together our emails and sent those emails out. And so now we need to hit the other big key in this process, which is going to be Twitter, okay? So we're going to do this down below because I think that there's more room down here. And so this key is we're going to use Twitter to both generate and build interest, okay? So Twitter is going to be both a generation and interest generation and interest building tool. So when we talk about generation for interest generation, we are, and don't let this IG confuse you, I'm not talking about Instagram. This stands for interest generation. There's a couple different things that we're going to do here. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to DM coaches with a very short script. The reason that we want to use a very short script, even shorter than our email, is because a lot of coaches are going to look at Twitter on their phone. And if you write even a moderately long email or script rather in that DM, then on a phone, it's going to take up like the whole screen and it's going to be a big block of blue, and they are not going to be down with that. They are not going to want to read all of that. And so because they're going to be seeing it on a phone, we want it to be much smaller. And so that DM script is going to be very, very short. The other thing that we're going to do here when we DM coaches, and by the way, for these DMs, I'm going to say, especially because we can't automate that process, I'm going to do like 3 to 5 a week, right? If I could do 3 to 5 a week, that's not going to take that long, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, but it's not going to take that long, and this will add up over time. Like if you do 5 a week for 10 weeks, which would be 2.5 months, you will have done 50 DMs in addition to the emails that you're sending here. That's going to put you in a pretty good spot. The other thing that I'm going to do here is I am going to post to the timeline at least 1 time per week, right? And this is going to be where I'm going to be posting video. I can post academic achievements. I can post awards that I've won, what's happening recently, right? And so there's going to be a bunch of interest generation stuff that happens here. But the other thing that we're going to do is we're also going to be interest building. And so interest building is where we are going to be tagging coaches. Well, let's do it this way because I think this is actually important. Let's just call this hot cognition, because this is one of the most important parts of using Twitter. And so let's draw this. So what's going to happen here? Hot cognition is when a coach follows you, you need to reach out to them ASAP. They have shown interest in you, and we want to strike while the iron is hot. And so right when they show interest in you, we want to reciprocate that interest and show that we are paying attention and that we are excited that they reach out to us. And so when a coach follows you, and especially if I'm the one that's doing this in this example, I'm going to reach out to those coaches ASAP. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to DM them if their DMs are open. If their DMs are not open, I'm going to email them, right? And then what we're going to do here is we're going to say, I'm going to tag the coach within 3 days on a timeline post with video. Okay. The reason that we do this is because we want that coach to engage with your tweet, because if they engage with one of your tweets, the algorithm is much more likely to show them more of your tweets in the future. And so while they are hot, you want to tag them in a video or on a post, because they're going to be more likely to watch that post because they just showed interest in you. So they're going to spend more time on it, and then Twitter is going to see that and then start feeding them more of your content. So it's critical that we not only try to generate a conversation with a DM or with an email, but that we also tag the coach so that we are training the algorithm to show our stuff to the coach. Right. And so we're going to do this. This is what I'm going to do on Twitter. And this is going to give me a pretty good opportunity to generate interest. Yes, but to also catch the coaches who follow us after email. If you remember here, one of the things we're trying to accomplish with our emails is to get Twitter follows, because it is a smaller ask for a coach to follow you on Twitter than respond to your email. So instead, if they're not going to respond to our email, I'm going to make sure that I have Twitter all set up. Some other things that I didn't mention here that probably should be mentioned is I'm going to optimize my bio. I'm going to link my YouTube channel. And I'm going to add a pinned tweet to make a good first impression, right? So I'm going to add these things so that I can make the most of Twitter. This should probably be a different color because it's on a different side. But this is how I'm going to make the most of Twitter. So when we go back here, right? So far, we know what we're trying to accomplish. We know what not to do. We've created our list of schools. We have put together our video. We have used email to contact schools and to start those conversations. We're using Instagram to both generate interest and build interest. And so at this point, we are doing pretty dang good, right, in the recruiting process. And it is likely, if we are doing these things with these 100 schools, and optimizing and iterating and improving over time, then it is likely, if I have reached out to schools that I am capable of playing at, then it is likely that I will be talking to some of them, right? I will be talking to some of them. And so now we enter the next phase of the process, right? We enter the next phase of the process. And so now I'm going to start looking at showcases and camps. Now, most people look at showcases and camps first, right? And they just sort of spray and pray, and they go to a bunch of them and they just hope that some of them work out. I'm not going to do that. So if you notice, instead, I'm trying to generate interest another way first. And then I'm going to selectively choose showcases and camps. And so the way that I'm going to do this is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the schools I'm already talking to, right? These schools that I've generated through email or through Twitter, these are the schools that I am interested in looking at for recruiting events, because they've already seen me, right? They've already seen my video. They've responded. We've had conversations. So when I show up for that camp, they are much more likely to watch me, right? So I'm going to look at the schools that I'm already talking to. I'm going to explore those dates and find the camps, right, and showcases that are on those dates. And then those I'm going to choose from, right? If I got interest from 5 schools, I might not go to all 5 camps, but the camps I go to should have those 5 schools, or at least 1 or 2 of them, in attendance. The other thing I'm going to do when I talk about showcases and camps is I am going to identify 1 to 2 dream schools that I was not able to generate interest from, right? And then I'm going to consider going to these camps if expense is possible, right? So we can't generate interest, and you're probably not going to generate interest every single time from a school that you're interested in before you go to their camp or showcase. It's just not going to happen. There might be a dream school that you really want to go to, but you don't have interest from them yet. and you're like, dang, their camp is coming up, but I don't have interest from them. Should I not go? No, you should still go because it is your dream school. So it's not like this is going to happen every single time where they know about you beforehand, but at the very least, I just want to only save those types of camps for your absolute dream schools. We shouldn't be using showcases and camps as your primary method of exposure. We should be using it for very specific schools, right? Either schools that we're already talking to or schools that are very high on our list. The other thing that I'm going to do here is I want to make the most of these events. In the ways that I'm going to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to contact them before the event to let them know that I'll be there and attach video so they know what to expect. They know that I'm going to be there. They watch the video. They go, ooh, this player is good. Write the name on a watch list. And now when I'm at that event, I'm giving myself the best opportunity to get evaluated by those coaches. So when there are 100 players there, they're actually watching me. The other thing that I'm going to do is after the showcase, I'm going to send a recap of video from the showcase, right? And so I'm going to send a message to that school or those schools, if there are multiple, that includes video from the showcase that they were at and say, hey, had a great time. Here's a recap of some video from this past weekend in case you missed it, right? And so now I am both contacting them before the event and I'm contacting them after the event. This is going to give me a much better chance of making the most of these events. And so now I am going to events of schools that I'm already talking to or that are extremely high on my list. I'm contacting them before the showcase. I'm contacting them after the showcase. I am giving myself every possible opportunity to make the most of these events. And so now this isn't just random showcases. I'm actually going to put myself in a really good position here, right? The other thing that I'm going to do besides showcases and camps here is follow-ups, right? So most of these schools that I've generated interest from, most will not be ready to give me a scholarship yet, right? They're not going to be ready right away to give me a scholarship. I need to build my value over time. I need to show them that I really am the player that they're looking for. If they think I'm a 6 out of 10, in 3 months, they can't still think I'm a 6 out of 10. We need to grow that over time. And so to do this, I am going to be proactive and contact coaches with new video. I'm going to continue to reach out to them, the coaches that are interested, and I'm going to send them new video of what's going on. These are going to be extremely short emails or DMs. I'm not trying to take a bunch of their time. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to call it go dark. Basically, I'm going to have periods where I don't follow up with them, so that they go, oh, I've been hearing from this guy for a long time. Then all of a sudden I go dark and they're like, wait, what the heck? Why am I not hearing from this kid anymore? Is he committed? What's going on here? And so now when I go dark, they're like, is he committed? Maybe I need to reach out to him, right? And so now they're reaching out to me instead of the other way around. And ultimately, we cannot let the full burden of communication fall. Wow, struggling here. Let's just go back all the way because that was brutal. Communication fall on the college coach. I can't let the full burden of communication fall on the college coach. I need to be active as well, right? And so I'm going to build my value over time. And so this interest that I've generated through email, that I've generated through Twitter, that I am, considering going to these showcases and camps. In addition to all of that, I need to be following up with these coaches and staying in touch with them while they have expressed interest in me. And I can't put that full burden of communication on them. Okay, So when we go back to our outline here, we're getting very, 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 very close to the end where we want to be, where we are ultimately getting scholarships, right? And so at this point, hopefully I have back and forth with some schools. I've generated interest. I'm following up with them. I'm going to those camps. They're evaluating me in person. They're like, yes, what we see in person is matching up with what we saw on video. This is great. And so this is where coach referrals are going to come in. And I know that coach referrals, a lot of times players will say, listen, my coach is super connected and they're going to contact a bunch of schools for me. But I know that coaches will not make 50 calls on my behalf. They simply won't. They simply don't have enough time to do that. And so I know that they will make 3 to 5. And so ultimately, if I think of these like the ace in your hand, right? And so ultimately, if you play the ace early in the round, it's harder or impossible to play the ace later on. And so what we really want to do is we want to hold the ace in our back pocket for as long as possible, right? We're not trying to play it super early here where we're generating interest at the very beginning. We want to hold it after we go through all of these different stages and steps, because what's going to end up happening is at some point in the process, you're going to be 80% of the way there, but you're still not, there's a J in there, going to have a scholarship. And you're going to be saying, what gives? Why not? Why don't I have this? And the process is going to feel like it is stalling out on you, right? You're like, dang, I've been talking to this school for a long time. We just haven't made any progress. I don't really know how I can take this to the next level. I've been following up with them. I've been sending them new video, but I don't really know where we're at with that. And so now you play the ace because you held on to it, right? And so this is where I would have my coach reach out and ask how they're feeling and how the process is going, right? And so then the coach is going to be able to come back to you and give you information, or come back to me in this case and give me information and say, this is what they said. This is where they're at. They're definitely getting there, but there are a couple other players they're considering too. And so this is what I think that you should do. And then you're going to get a game plan together after talking to your coach, right? You're going to have a game plan after talking to your coach. And hopefully this is going to put you in a much better position to move past the 80% mark and closer to the 100% mark where you get the scholarship, right? And so hopefully this ace is going to give you more insight at a much more key part of the process. You don't want to play that coach referral early to like get in the door with coaches. Can you do that? Yes, but a lot of times it's going to be a waste of an ace. Like, it's much better if we can generate interest some of these other ways that we're talking about here, and then you can play the ace much later on in the process. Boom, you're going to have a much better chance of getting interest and actually turning that interest into an offer. And so the last thing here is leverage and decisions, right? And so at this point, I've generated some offers, I've generated some interest, and now I'm trying to decide which school do I want to go with. And so if I have less than 3 offers, I'm going to be quick to accept, right? I'm going to be quick to accept, because if those offers go away, I don't have anything else. As you are heading toward the end of the process, if you don't have a lot of options, you don't have the luxury of being able to take your time. And so the hope is that we've contacted a ton of schools. We've done a great job with video. These are schools that we can really help, that we can play at. We've contacted a lot of them. We've done a good job of building interest. We've gone to those showcases. We played well. We confirmed that what's on video is accurate. We had our coach call and confirm and give us a referral to that coach. And so we're in a good spot here. And so the hope is that Maybe we have more than 3, but if we don't, I'm going to be quick to accept, because as I get later in the process, I know it's going to get harder and harder and harder to earn an offer. Now, if I have more than 3 offers, let's say in this example, let's say 8 of them, but I don't have my dream school offer yet, then I'll focus my time and energy on making that happen, right? I'm going to do whatever I can to get that dream school interested. Why? Because I know that if 4 schools pull their offer and go another route, I still have 4 opportunities, so I can afford to wait on my dream school, right? And so at this point, I'm just going to try and generate that interest from the dream school. If I'm not able to and I lose these 4, then I'll pick, right? I'll pick between the 4, right? The 4 that are left. And if I get the opportunity from my dream school, yay, right? I'm just going to take the offer from my dream school because that's what I wanted all along. And so ultimately what I'm trying to do here is I want to build as much leverage as I can, and then operate based on the leverage that I've built. If you've built a lot of leverage and you have a lot of schools that are interested, then you can wait as long as you want and you're in great shape. But if you don't have a lot of leverage, then you have to understand that that's the case, and you might have to be a little bit quicker to pull an offer, or you have to be willing to risk this and go generate more schools and more offers and more interest, which is a whole other thing. And obviously that's going to be harder to do the later you are in the process. And so if I was in the recruiting process in 2024, like, this is exactly what I would do. Like, this is literally exactly what I would do. I would figure out where I'm trying to go. Like, what am I trying to accomplish? If you're just like, oh, I just want to play at the next level, it's not a concrete goal. It's just an abstract goal, a vague goal. It's going to be very hard to succeed when you do that. And so it really comes down to, like, where do you want to play, right? You want to go to a strong academic school, even if it means I can't play D1. This also might be like, what region of the US do I want to be in? Right? It could be like, hey, do I want to be close to home or far from home? It could be, is there a specific major I want to study, right? And so I'm going to go through all these things and really figure out, what am I trying to accomplish? And then I'm going to say, great, if I wanted to fail, what would I do in recruiting? And I'm going to list out everything that I would do to fail. And then I'm just going to do the opposite of that. If I do the opposite of that, it's going to put me in a really good position, right? So then I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to say, great, I'm going to create a target list of schools. That list is going to be roughly 100, right? Because I know that through all of these different steps, they're going to drop off. And so the hope is that I'm able to generate some interest from these. And of those 100, I'm going to have 50 of my target list, right, be D1s, like the top of the top. But then I'm also going to have backups. I'm going to have D3s. I'm going to have some 20 NAIA. And then I'm going to reevaluate. If this doesn't go how I want it to, I know that I might have to do a second campaign of another 50 or 100 schools that might be more D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO. Right? And so I'm just going to evaluate as I go through the process and make adjustments along the way. Then I'm going to put together my video strategy. I'm going to figure out all the skills that a coach wants to see from me. Right? I'm going to figure out what those skills are, what video I have already of those skills, and then the skills that I don't have video for, I'm going to go get video for. I'll get practice video in the meantime until I can get game video for those skills. I'm going to upload them to YouTube. I'm going to have short videos, medium videos, long videos, the whole deal, so that they have a really good idea of who I am as a player when they come to my YouTube channel. Then I'm going to email my target list of schools. I'm going to make sure I land in the primary inbox, email the right coach, right email address, good subject line, short email, right? I'm going to remove the stats. I'm going to add my video. I'm going to follow up with those coaches who didn't respond. Hopefully, I'm sending those within 4 days, but if not, maybe a few weeks or a month. And so ultimately, I'm trying to generate Twitter follows, responses, video watches, and get put on some watch lists. Right? The other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to focus on Twitter, because we know that a lot of coaches are going to come follow me from my email campaign. And so I'm going to use Twitter to both generate interest and build interest. In terms of generating interest, I'm going to DM coaches with a very short script because I know on a phone that can get really long. So I'm going to send 3 to 5 a week, which should take 30 minutes, maybe 60 minutes a week. And then I'm going to post to the timeline at least once per week. If I can do more than that, I will. The other thing I'm going to focus on is hot cognition. This is when a coach follows me, I'm going to reach out to them ASAP. If their DMs are open, I'm just going to DM them. If their DMs are not open, I'm going to email them, right? And then, of course, I'm going to tag the coach within 3 days on a timeline post with video so that the algorithm continues to feed my stuff to that coach. Once I've generated some interest, I'm then going to choose which showcases and camps that I want to attend. I'm not going to do this as my primary method of exposure. I've already used Twitter and email to do that. I am now using this for evaluation. I am helping coaches confirm that what they saw on video really is the real deal. So I'm going to look at the schools I'm already talking to, and I'm going to go to those camps because they're going to make much more sense, and I'm going to get a much higher ROI of that. I'm also going to identify 1 to 2 dream schools that I couldn't generate interest from, but that I would be really interested in going to. And it's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to try whatever I can to get on their radar. Cool. And then to make the most of those events, I'm going to contact them before the event so that they're looking out for me when I step on campus or to that event. And then I'm also, after the showcase, going to send them a recap so that they get to see sort of what they missed when there was a lot of stuff going on at that event. I'm also going to continue to follow up with these schools because most schools I know are not going to be ready to give me an offer right away. So I'm going to build my value over time and be proactive. I'm going to send extremely short emails or DMs with new video. And then I'm also going to go dark sometimes. I'm going to go dark so that hopefully they miss me and they're like, dang, why didn't he send me an email? He's been contacting me pretty frequently. Is he committed? Maybe I need to reach out to him. And I'm just not going to let the full burden of communication fall on a college coach. Then, right, we got here. I know that coaches will not make 50 calls on my behalf. This is coach referrals, right? I know that my coach is not going to go make 50 calls for me, but I know that they might make 3 to 5. And so I'm going to use these to target specific schools that I really need help with. And so think of these like the ace in the hand. I don't want to play it early on. I want to wait to play it later on, right? So that when I get to that point in the process where it's kind of stalled out and I'm like, dang, how do I push this forward? Like, I don't really know what else to do. Then I can play the ace. The coach can help me move from that 80% to closer to that 90, 95%, and hopefully that 100% where I'm going to get a scholarship. And then finally, at the end of the process, I have interest. I have offers. If I have less than 3 offers, I'm going to be quicker to accept because I know that if those offers go away, I don't really have anything. But I have more, right? If I have 8 offers, then I'm going to go after my dream school if I don't have that offer yet. I'm going to go after it, see if I can get it. Even if a couple schools pull their offer, no big deal. I still have some opportunities that I can take. And so I am just in this process going to build as much leverage as I can. And then later in the process, I'm going to act accordingly and operate with the leverage that I have. Right. And so if I was in the recruiting process, this is exactly what I would do. And this is what we're doing on a daily basis with our athletes. And it's working like an absolute charm. And so if you're the parent of a high school athlete and you want us to show you exactly how to do this and literally help you build each one of these pieces out so that your kid can get a lot of interest and a lot of opportunities in college recruiting, and you're like, dang, this was much easier than if I were to do this on my own, then I'll put a link in the description. You can book a call with us and we'll walk you through what we do. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and I will see you next time.